Hey guys, I'm Zach.
And I am Jonathan. And welcome to the extended version of the token video for our squad tokens. Now, if you want to see the short, quick video, if you don't have time for us to talk about all the decisions that went into this, come right here.
Right in this area.
Ding! And you can click on that and go to the short video and just see the quick promo. But if you want to stick around, we're going to go through in-depth look at all of the tokens. We're going to talk about some of the design decisions that went into them. And we're going to kind of start with an overall view of the token set and then break it down with the faction sets and the auxiliary tokens. So
Let's do it.
come on in.
So let's talk about these tokens. They took us a while, and if you've been waiting on these tokens in particular,
Thank you for waiting.
thank you for waiting, and sorry that it took so long. But
Yes.
there were some really important, I think, design philosophies that went into this.
Mhm.
And do you want to hit on some of those?
Yeah, well, the first thing, and this is probably the most apparent thing, is that we wanted them to look right, and we wanted them,
Really?
we wanted them to not only look right, but be able to be seen from a far distance away.
Yeah, because
And-
in miniatures games you're usually standing.
Mhm.
Tokens can be far away. They can be behind things. So if it's too small or too unapparent, then it's really easy to get lost in the noise of the game.
Exactly. So we made sure to play test these, and you'll see, like in the locks particularly, you'll see very large letters, and we'll get into that more whenever we talk about the locks. But that was one of the biggest things: is make sure the icons were big, make
Yep.
sure that they were visible from a long ways away, and make sure that people could see them, both you and your opponent, so that everything was very clear. Another thing that we wanted to do was make sure that they felt right. And this is really one
That's
of the
a big
biggest.
word.
This is the biggest thing for me, is that they felt right, because really we wanted it to feel really very, very tactile. We wanted
We wanted them to feel.
We wanted them to
literally
feel.
wanted them to feel.
You know, not smooth size, not like data tokens. You know, smooth size, sort of a computer generated look. This really needed to be
Parallax,
more
holographic.
Yeah, exactly. It needed to be more like lived in. Really needed to feel more like a model that someone had made that had all of this stuff on the sides of it. And actually, like Parallax that you just mentioned, we have a new phrase, new word of the day for this set, and that word is greeble.
Greeble.
Yeah, which should be
What's
showing
a
up right
greeble?
here.
This is agreeable.
That's agreeable. Basically, it's a way to make small objects look larger, to add detail to things, to make them look more real, and in this case, feel more real. So we'll just jump in right away. We'll kind of talk about how each token sort of incorporated that, but we'll jump in right away to our faction sets. And if you look at particularly the dodge and the precision tokens, you will see and you will feel that they have little ridges on the side of them. They have bumps
they're
and
not so
ridges.
smooth,
They're not just
round-
smooth.
round
They
token.
feel like they exist in some sort of
They
reality.
do exist.
Yeah,
This is true.
But it's more like it's a very tactile sensation.
Yeah, and I mean, they even feel the precision and the dodge feel a little bit different.
Mhm.
Something you might notice when you get these in your hands. And a lot of this, that again, the feel is so important. It's going to be hard to communicate that over a video or over verbal communications or even images. There's just something about holding the tokens in your hands
Yeah.
and putting them on the table that feels correct. So that was a big part of that.
That was a huge part of that. And the other thing that we really wanted to do was differentiate the different factions from each other, because if you're flying for a team, and you really kind of want to represent that.
You're flying for a team.
You know, and so we have three different factions. We have the Alliance faction, the Bounty faction, and the Navy faction, and each sort of with very unique and very, I don't know, identifiable characteristics.
Yeah, I mean, they each have their own greeble, right? Like their
Mhm.
own like feel and the way they're designed.
Mhm.
They each also have their own lock.
Yes.
And the locks, both the shape, the greeble, the feel, and the color and the inverted colors from each lock. And that's another thing about the locks that I want to mention, is that instead of doing two different colors, it's actually inverted colors. So,
Yes.
you know, on the Alliance locks, you have a red token and a white token. The red token has a white fill, the white token has a red fill, and it's inverted, which can be really handy if you are colorblind, but it also just in general makes it way obvious on the board who's the locker and who's the lockee.
Yeah.
But yeah, they all have very distinct feels, and I think it's so important. I can't even just using the different ones with the different from the different designs, I guess they feel very different, right? Like the Navy set is very smooth, very clean, almost like
very clean
very
lines.
controlled.
Yeah.
Versus the Alliance set, which is very pokey, is the
Yeah,
best way to say it. It's like shoved together.
Yeah,
just
shoved
poking.
together. It's like kind of like scrabbled together from various parts and things to try to make it a full thing.
Yeah.
And then you've got the bounty set, which sort of has, stuff that you would maybe see, going around like a target lock, like inspirational quotes and stuff like that. Because what we really wanted to do is put you in the pilot seat as much as possible and really think about what a pilot would be seeing, what a pilot would be thinking, and how to make that into a token. Because it is like, say, the flying is such a visceral experience, And
It's true.
We really wanted to take you right into that ship, so you could feel like you were flying. You could at least feel like what a pilot would feel like when they're in there. So that was one of the big things. One of the really cool things, as you were mentioning, with the inverse colors and the different factions, is it's incredibly easy to see on the table who has what lock, what faction has what lock. Yep. It's incredibly easy, and it's really makes things go much more quickly and resolves any, because if you're looking down there and you're seeing a whole bunch of stuff, you're trying to make a lot of decisions based on what you're seeing on the board.
Well, there's a lot going on, right? Mm-hmm. Like the potential for the number of tokens that can be on the board at a given time is large.
Mm-hmm. And believe me, from watching games, from scripting games, I get confused as to who's the locker, who's the lockee. So I'm sure in the heat of battle, that's a consideration that you don't want to have on your mind, that you can take off of your mind so you can concentrate on flying.
Yep.
So that's really a rundown of those, and so we'll move on, I guess, to the auxiliary tokens.
Yeah, the auxiliary tokens. So these are basically all the other tokens, and we'll kind of give a rundown of each of these, and they all have their own distinct feel, literally feel,
mm-hmm.
but then agreeable design,
visual feel.
We'll start with the shields.
Woo.
And the shields are really cool. They have this there's a math term for this.
Fractal. It's a fractal. I love fractals.
Yeah, and you say that word a lot.
Yes, I do.
But
constantly.
They have a fractal, which basically gives this it's a flat surface, but it's this representation of like a three-dimensional object that's happening. And when I picture shields, I see a shot hitting a shield and then like bubbling across the shield,
mm-hmm.
right? And these create that effect, and it's really cool. And the other part is depending on which way you have this token turned, it may make it look completely different,
mm-hmm.
right? Like the shape is actually different. So that's cool. And it's also got the actual shape, and the outside of it is very particular.
It's not sharp edges. It's squared off. So
edges.
It feels more protective, I think. And that was sort of one of the things that I was kind of thinking about whenever the design process was going on, is how can the actual outside feel of these tokens influence and help someone who's playing the game and make it more natural. So with you mentioned it a little bit, and I'll go back to it, but with the dodge and the precision, the dodge has a little more rounded edges on it, the precision has a little more pointy edges on it. So aware versus dodging around, right? The shield, of course, has those squares, and we'll get into the rest of them. But that was really one of the considerations, is to subconsciously point the pilot in the right direction.
Yeah.
One of the cool things that you mentioned again was that how they all look very different whenever they're turning around. It's one of my favorite things. Just had to mention it again.
Double mention.
Yeah, it's the same design on the token, but as they get turned through the course.
None of these really look the same.
They look very different, and that's sort of the nature of a fractal field, and that's why I love them.
Fractals for days. Next up, we have the stress token.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to say is my favorite, but that's not true, because I'm going to say that later again with more of them. But it's red. It's what you'd expect. And I think more importantly, though, it has this I don't know what you call this, tethered edge.
I remember you came back from the first playtest with that stress token, and you were just beaming. You were very happy about how it happened and what it felt like.
Yeah, it just feels right. Among all the tokens, this is certainly the one that feels the harshest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily want to be reaching into my bag or into my box to pull this out and put it on a ship, even
mm-hmm.
though sometimes it's good to do so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got this very interesting shape and texture going on that just makes it feel correct.
Yeah,
and
just kind of makes it jump out and makes you not want to have it on a ship. Makes you sort of want to avoid it even more so than you normally would. And it's not a smooth edge like a cardboard token.
Now on the inverse, if you have a list that is basically handing out stress like it's candy, you might very much just love reaching for these tokens mm-hmm. because your opponent has run out of theirs and now they're borrowing yours and you're just slapping them down onto the ship. But Yeah, it's very very stressful to hold this token.
Yeah, which is what we were looking for.
If we had like a heart rate monitor right now, and I was holding this
just by
token,
that you can see it, you can see the heart rate jump up.
All right. Next up, we have what's probably truly my favorite token.
I was wondering.
Best one in the set by a mile, which is the cloak token, and I have very particular leanings as far as the ships and factions that I enjoy using in my life, and just the tattoos that are on my body and whatnot. But long story short, this is probably the most like unique shape of the two, because it's like kind of a circle, but then it's got this coming off of it, and then it's got these bubbles going on the outside. And I think my favorite part is when you get this in your hands, you can see and you can feel it, that the bubbling effect that happens on the bottom and the sides of the token, as the token goes up, they disappear.
Yeah, they
fade into the token.
It's that kind of like, that cloak,
like you might imagine when something's cloaking.
Yeah, like you see it like.
Can you do that sound again? It's basically that sound on the shape of a token.
I don't put it on a turntable. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I was gonna see if I could get a third one before it's over. We might get a fourth, so I'm really hoping we get there. But yeah, it's a solid token, and it's a little bit larger. And this will go around with a ship a lot of times, or it'll move around the board. As some of these other tokens will get spent every turn, and they don't really move. And it's something you don't want to leave behind.
Yeah, and the inside design, of course, is also showing. Speaking to that, like the triangle becomes
you have the triangles
less and less filled,
and
as
the designs disappear into the design of the token. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
As it does.
All right. Next up, we have the Ion token.
The Ion token, which is bringing another fractal into play, which is exciting for me.
Is the fractal around the outside?
Yes, fractal is around the outside. That was sort of the mathematics that was used to create this sort of static effect.
I was gonna say it's static. It's creating a static effect, which is cool, because like when you're thinking about if you were a pilot and you were looking at a dashboard and you got hit, you got ioned, you might have static happening on some of your displays and some of your screens. So you have that, and then you have this very unique thing on the inside.
Yeah, one of the things, this one was really interesting, because it's like, how do you represent an ion?
It's a very non-literal object.
Ionized, yeah. So like I thought about it.
You accomplished it with shield.
Yeah, but shields, like, people know what shields look like, but like, it's a feeling. To be ionized is a feeling, so how do you represent that? So I thought about it, and then I thought about, like, what if it was like a check engine light, that came on, like, you get hit and you're sitting there and you're getting shocked and your ship's rocking around or whatever it's doing, and this light comes on and you're like, that's the ionization light. Or like even, in a bigger ship, some, the second admiral or whatever.
It's like a way more scary version of a check engine light.
Yeah, exactly. Or like you could maybe, I thought about someone, checking maybe a circuit diagram or a node diagram on the ship and saying like, oh, this is where we have it sequestered for ionization so that we can get rid of it quickly enough. And now it's like it has the X on it, and it's been triggered, and oh no, send someone down to the wherever.
Oh no, we're going to be moving straight forward.
Yep, so we're locked down. So that was a big inspiration for that. And then of course the static you feel. So it's got both the check engine light and the feeling that you would have if you were in the pilot seat of that check engine light. Once again, trying to bring you into the pilot seat as much as possible.
Yeah, and I want to note on the color here too. It's far and away the brightest color in the set of a token, and it's just kind of one of those things that you can forget a precision token and it's not going to affect the legal game state. But with Ion in particular, it's not an optional thing that needs to be resolved. It has to happen.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure it just popped off the table as hard as possible.
Yep.
And we didn't want to have like a glowing thing, but it's as close to glowing as you can get without actually glowing. So.
Yeah, and actually speaking of tokens that we made bright because they are so important to the game state, we have the critical token.
Some would say it's the most critical token.
The most critical token. It's 100% critical. But the thing that we really wanted to accomplish in this is, again, having it very bright so that you can see, oh, I can't, make this turn, or oh, I can't do this, or I need to roll
a very strong reminder that you need to be checking your.
Because you don't want to, and those things are easy to forget because it's not part of the game. It's not a normal, average, everyday part. It's something special that happens to your ship. There maybe happens one every 10 games.
Well, and it's also something that does something radically different depending on what it is, right? Like a precision token is always a precision token,
right? But
a critical could be one of a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So it's also very bright, like you were mentioning. And I think the It's the design itself is like basically like a hole's been punched into a ship, but the outside also feels like it's a chunk that just came right off of a ship.
Yep.
So
it's actually there's actually a little bit of fractal use in there, and I mean one of the reasons fractals are cool is that you see them a lot in nature. And again, one of the things that we really wanted to accomplish with this set was to make it the most visceral set and the most real set, and really feel like it was derived from models from real life being made by real people, and not just generated. And so this is actually, again, using that sort of fractal idea and making it a very like rusty, spiky outside explosion. There's no symmetrical part of it.
Yeah, it just got blown out of your ship.
Yeah, it's like it's literally flying off.
This is literally a piece of your ship that's flying.
And now your nice smooth ship has rough edges because it got damaged, critically damaged. And so again, we wanted to sort of bring that into your subconscious mind as well as putting it on the table so that you can see it and be made aware of it on a constant basis.
Yeah, so those are our squad tokens. We're super excited to have these out finally. We've been working on them for a very long time. Just to go over it one more time, you can get these tokens in the faction sets, basically the Alliance, the Bounty, and the Navy. They come with the Dodge, the Precision, and the Locks. All those are available individually as sets. They're also individual tokens. You can also get an Auxiliary set, which is all of these tokens. All of these are also available individually. So you can do it however you want to do it. We tried to make it easy on everybody, and we're just really excited to have these out in the world.
If you're interested, you want more info, there's a link that's appearing right at the bottom of the screen. And
you can buy them right there.
You can buy them right there. Yeah, go straight to it and support us. Help us do more of this kind of stuff. In fact, one of the things that's really important for me to say is that because of the support that we've gotten from you or your friends or people you know, buying our previous token sets, we really were able to take our time and make this the best that we could. And as this token set gets purchased, we will put that money into making more stuff and cooler stuff and better stuff for the games that we love and the games that you love. So thank you so much for supporting us. Thanks for telling your friends about us. Thanks for watching our videos. Thanks for believing in Gaming Reborn. We really couldn't do this without you guys.
Thank you so much. We'll catch you guys later.
Thanks.